Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the WVU Alumni Webinar Series. My name is Andrew Seeley, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for the WVU Alumni Association. Joining me tonight is Meredith Bayless, our Director of Alumni Engagement, and we are thrilled to be speaking to Dr. Jackson and Dr. Williams of the College of Creative Arts. Tonight, we'll be learning a little bit more about the College of Creative Arts and discussing the pride of West Virginia. But before we get started, just a reminder, we'll be opening the conversation up to a Q&A at the end of this evening's webinar. So if you think of a question you'd like to ask our guests as they're speaking, please feel free to drop your question in the comments section, and we'll be happy to address your questions as long as time permits. And so with that said, I'll turn it over to Meredith to introduce our guests for the evening.
Hello, everyone. As Andrew said, tonight we will be joined by Dean Keith Jackson and Dr. Cheldon Williams. Keith Jackson currently serves as the Dean of the College of Creative Arts here at West Virginia University. As a West Virginian by choice, he came to WVU from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in 1995. And from 2008 to 2017, as most of you know, served as the director of the School of Music. As an active trombonist, Keith has recently performed in China, Thailand, California, Hawaii, and Louisiana. Dean Jackson also serves the community. He is a longtime board member of the West Virginia Wine and Jazz Festival, the West Virginia Symphony Orchestra, and as he is the incoming president of the West Virginia Music Educators Association. And the director of the Pride of West Virginia, Dr. Cheldon Williams, is also joining us tonight. Prior to coming to West Virginia University, Dr. Williams completed his doctorate at the University of Texas at Austin, and he served as the interim associate director of bands at the New Mexico State University and worked for 13 years in secondary education. Dr. Williams earned his bachelor's and master's degrees in music education at Florida State. He has conducted American students in China and served as a guest clinician to Chinese students during his time as the founding program director for a summer music festival. Dr. Williams is a nationally active educator and guest clinician in many areas pertaining to music education and conducting. Dean Jackson and Dr. Williams, thank you so much for being here with us tonight to share some exciting updates from the College of Creative Arts and the pride of West Virginia.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, looking forward to this.
So we're gonna dive right in because we have a lot to cover tonight. We want to be talking about the pride. We want to be talking about football season. We want to be getting updates about the College of Creative Arts. So speaking of the College of Creative Arts, Dr. Jackson, we're going to start with you. So we know so many alumni and our friends who are so grateful to have had you here at West Virginia University for the last 25 years. So I'd love to start by getting a little bit more about what led you to WVU.
Oh, wow, that's a great question. So yeah, I came here from UNC Chapel Hill, and I was there for 6 years. Great university. I'm not going to say anything about the university. Great place to live. But the thing that was amazing when I came here was, one, it was close to home. I'm from Pittsburgh. I did not go to Pitt, so please do not put anything negative in the comments. But it was close to home. But also when I got here, there's a thing about the people on campus, both faculty and students. It's amazing. It's wonderful. And for those who've been to other universities, you realize that's rare. So to have a place where people care about each other and really are coming from a lot of different backgrounds is fascinating. And beyond fascinating, it made it feel very much like home. So that's one reason I'm still here since 1995. Until March of 2020, it was incredibly fast. And then since March of 2020, it's been about 24 and a half years. So it's actually been a great time until March. And right now, it's just interesting. We're just going to adapt. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Williams, you have not been here for 25 years. You're relatively new to the Mountaineer family, and we are so excited to have you here. And we're appreciative that you're here with us
I'm
tonight,
excited to be here.
So can you tell us a little bit about what led you here to West Virginia University and why it is that you're excited to be joining that Mountaineer family?
I have had a really, really awesome time getting to know the students, and I've had a really great time getting refamiliarized with my colleague, Scott Tobias. Dr. Tobias was a recognized judge and clinician in the Florida area. And many years ago, Dr. Tobias actually judged my high school band at a state band contest. And through various conferences and things like that, when we've been able to keep in contact with each other. So when this opportunity came to join this fantastic team and to join this amazing university and institution, I leaped at the opportunity, of course.
Well, so now that you're here, let's dive right into some updates about the Pride of West Virginia. So we know that pregame traditions are very special for Mountaineers. So I'm wondering, Dr. Williams, if we could kick it off. As a fan of Mountaineer pregames, I want to be the first to know. Are you planning or expecting to have any changes to that pregame that the Pride of West Virginia does?
Well, the short answer to that is no. So everyone can breathe a collective sigh of relief. I remember remarking that I wanted to keep a watchful eye on the past and forge our own way into the future. Well, pregame for me is that watchful eye on the past, and I don't expect for that to change very much at all.
I cannot tell you how relieved I am to hear that, because I've been at WVU not quite for the 25 years that Dr. Jackson has been here, but when I hear some of those familiar sounds and see the Pride of West Virginia, nothing to me quite starts a Mountaineer football game like some of the pregame traditions that we know and love. And so one of the other questions, as we talk about change and the fact that you're not changing the pregame, I do want to ask you and kind of get right into the topic of COVID. How has the coronavirus impacted life at the College of Creative Arts and life for the Pride of West Virginia? How have things been different?
Well, even before the season started, we were dealing with issues of COVID-19, and so much so that it actually caused me to pull the plug on band camp. I wanted to give the students an opportunity to move in, a number of freshmen coming from out of state, move into their respective dorms and environments. And I wanted them to be able to do so in a way that was really safe without having to deal with band as a whole. And once they got acclimated, we would get started with the semester. I've had a couple of ideas churning all along. One of which is what we've implemented right up until the beginning of this week, which was breaking the band into 3 separate, what I call fall pep bands. And those bands consisted of about 100 to 120 members. And we had it separated into gold band, blue band, and Mountaineer band. I understand there's a thing that we don't say blue and gold here. We say gold first and then blue. So I had them separated into their respective bands. And I did a tremendous amount of work through Google survey to figure out where they were living, who they were getting rides from, who was in their immediate social circles, so that I can do a little bit of contact tracing before they even got on campus. The students were wonderful in filling that information out, and I was able to place them into their respective fall pep bands based on pretty extensive contact tracing. So that took us up to this point, but now we've, as of this week, have pretty much completely turned over to virtual. And in this virtual environment, I'm rolling out a new curriculum so that we can keep the students engaged. And hopefully, with some of the plans that we have, we want to make sure that the students are also still engaging the fans, even if it is virtually.
And so what do you see that looking like for the fall season, specifically for the marching bands? Do you have an idea of what that looks like for football season and travel? And is there a plan? There are a lot of folks that are asking us questions about that. And so we want to make sure that we cover that.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as a plan is concerned, the virtual plan is completely rolled out. What we have decided to do was to turn our energy into the students performing and recording themselves. My goal right now is to get all of those performances compiled of the things that you love to hear, Andrew, that really makes this a West Virginia pregame, and it really signifies football season. We have the students record all of those things. We're thinking about compiling those, and that would be a performance aspect of what the students would do. I also want to do some promotional, athletics, WVU, the Pride. We want to incorporate all of those things into a promotional game day event where the students are going to really interesting places around Morgantown and doing some game day promos for us, and also doing some recruitment promos for us so that we can put together something for 2021 when hopefully we are back and fully functional. So we're doing a whole bunch of things over here. We have a couple of irons in the fire to make sure that we are bringing some form of an experience to our fan base and supporting our athletic teams.
Well, we love to hear that, and we certainly know a lot of folks who will be excitedly awaiting some of those. Andrew and I have a supervisor whose ringtone is a song performed by the Pride of West Virginia. And so if you all are considering putting out any new ringtones this year, we know someone who would absolutely love that, and we will purchase it for him. Absolutely.
I will keep that in mind.
In fact, it's one of the things we miss the most while we're working virtually.
Sure.
So that would be a great gift. But so we'd love to switch gears a little bit and talk about something that we're all very excited about, which is the efforts to build the new Pride practice facility. And so we have several questions for you about this. But so could either of you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for this facility?
Go ahead, Dr. Jackson.
Okay, I'll grab that one. Okay, so really the facility, the idea is to put it into 3 parts or build it in 3 parts, because everybody knows that what we do now is we rehearse on a parking lot outside the Coliseum. And if as winter comes and the days get shorter, we have lighting issues, or if there's thunder, lightning, hail, snow, sleet, we basically have to cancel rehearsal. So if you think about the fact you're doing a new show in a 1-week time, if you lose a day or 2 because it's not safe, it's a major problem. So what we're looking to do is 3 stages. The first one, getting a new field. This would be in the location of Holly Field. We worked with athletics, and they've given us that space. And there you have the field. The second would be the storage facility that you see there. Is for everybody who drives by a practice sees these storage boxes where we keep all of our equipment, which is not great for the equipment, and creates lots of problems in terms of lifespan of percussion, drums, etc., percussion, sousaphones, etc. So the second phase would be the storage facility, and then the pavilion. So if we have hail, lightning, something like that that's not safe, we can actually find a place to go safely and still rehearse. Because right now there's no place on campus that's big enough for the Pride to rehearse inside. So if we have a weather incident, it's just over. So these 3 aspects, which will run about $5 million as of right now, would really help us, 1, provide the students the opportunities they should have, the safety they need, and to be honest, in a way, also give us a chance to be at the same level as a lot of other programs that, to be honest, are inferior to ours. Ooh, did I say inferior? That's competitive. I shouldn't say that. But there's some other places that really are not at the level of Pride that have this kind of facility already. So it's something really important, again, for safety and what the Pride needs and deserves. And they serve the whole student population. And to be honest, they're one of the best ambassadors for the state of West Virginia we have. So I think it's a group we really need to put in the best light.
Absolutely.
So what are some of those schools that, if you wouldn't mind, what are some of those other schools that have facilities like this?
Well, schools like Baylor have something in place. Oklahoma has something in place like this. Florida State University has something in place that's similar to this. And my alma mater, the University of Texas at Austin, actually has something fairly similar to this, but because we all know the Texas heat in the summer, they actually rehearse in an air-conditioned bubble. So that's one of the things that they have in terms of facilities for the students that will enable them to rehearse in any type of weather.
And also, just so I can add, there's a school that rhymes with pokey, and they have a facility. And there's another school that has green. I mean, there's green in their colors, and they have a field. So, I mean, yeah.
But you would never say inferior school. I think that was the quote that you used, but you would never.
President Gee would not be happy with me for having said that.
No. we would never say that. But what we do want to say is, obviously, I totally agree with you 100%. You know, you mentioned that the Pride of West Virginia are some of the best representatives for not just the state, or excuse me, the university, but they're incredible representatives for the state of West Virginia as well. And we know that generally speaking, they are, you know, every season they're traveling around not only the state of West Virginia, but traveling around the country and really flying those gold and blue colors for WVU. Dr. Williams, you know, a facility like this that some of the other schools do have, you know, what would this mean to the students who are representing West Virginia University in such a positive way?
The short answer to that is a sense of belonging, a place that is really, really nice. And of course, that's not to take away from anything that they have. Athletics has been fantastic to us. We have a wonderful standing relationship with our athletics department. The parking lot is very well equipped to handle the things that we've been able to accomplish. We have a huge tower there, but this new field will give these students a real sense of pride and give them a sense of ownership in a place where they belong, and they belong specifically, and it's only dedicated to them.
And also, I need to add that safety issue again. The safety issue is really important. So.
Sure.
So, you know, so you've talked about this sense of belonging and the weather and the safety, but, you know, could you be honest with us and share what's needed to bring this facility to life?
Yeah. Well, one of the things we talked about COVID before. COVID also brings serious financial and fiscal challenges. But in today's dollars, we actually have to come up with $5 million to get this in reality. And that's a challenge. But again, I'm looking at the 25 years I've been here, the 50 years of the Pride, and then the next 50 years. Right. So if you look at what we're doing for the future students and you think of next 50 years, that $5 million, we owe it to them. I mean, to be honest, that's part of my job as a dean, right? But it's $5 million. I mean, so we're going to be hitting that very hard. To be honest, I'm not going to lie. If at some point people start crying during this and we start getting $1,000 checks, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to be upset. But it's going to. I know everybody out there watching this and throughout the state really does. This is the band of the Mountaineers and the band of West Virginia. And there is a state pride here that I've been other places. I've been in Arizona. I've been in North Carolina. That pride in their ensemble does not exist in those places. There are people who in their obituaries list when the Pride was last in their county. And that is in their obituary. And they weren't members. It was just because it touched them to that level. So Bob Huggins also talks about this, as does Nikki Bowman. We're ambassadors. And the whole state has a sense of ownership of the Pride, and it goes both ways. So yeah, it's $5 million, and we're going to get there because the state loves this band.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Williams, you know, as the state loves this band so much and you're stepping into this role of leading these folks, you know, we joked a little bit earlier on about, you know, I pleaded that you wouldn't change. I just need to hear simple gifts. That's really, I need the circle. I need the color guard. I need the whole nine. But we joked about not changing some of those traditions, but what do you see as the future for the Pride of West Virginia? Where are some of the moves that you're making?
So some of the moves that we're making is just a different style in terms of how I want to interact with the students. Not saying that anything was better or worse before, it is just going to be different. A lot of the ownership I would like to put on the students from a very beginning basis. I want to make sure that they are doing the things that they need to do to protect their legacy. There is something that the students and I talked about during one of our leadership council meetings, is that they were interested in protecting the tradition. And I say tradition, fantastic, but tradition could sometimes leave us stuck. Like I said, we wanted to keep a watchful eye on what was going on in the past. What I'm interested in these students doing is transitioning from the word tradition to the word legacy. I want them to be thinking about what it is that they're going to be leaving behind for people that will come after them. Because as Dr. Jackson just mentioned, 50 years from now, we'll be utilizing this field and the inaugural group that gets the opportunity to rehearse on it, it will become a part of their legacy. So those are the things that I'm changing. And then as far as, the halftime shows are concerned, we're looking to really spice things up there. And I want to make sure that I am reaching not only our season ticket holders, but I want to make sure that I'm reaching the student base as well with all of that. So we're trying to get a little something for everybody.
Can I actually brag about Cheldon for 1 second? Or sorry, Dr. Williams for 1 second too? Because what you just got a little bit of there. There's a leadership quality and he knows how to share it. And remember we talked before about the pride is all majors. That's something it's not, there's great musicianship, but there's also leadership that cuts across the boundaries and his ability to share that. And I had deans from 2 really high-powered schools call and say, this is the guy you want. And so what we're getting a little bit of right now is why that's the great, I love the move to legacy, by the way. I had not heard that till just now. So that's beautiful. But that's one of the reasons we're so excited. And even though we don't get them yet because we can't travel, I know the future's gonna be really great.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Jackson. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So Dr. Jackson, we've talked a lot about some of the special traditions with the Pride of West Virginia, but could you potentially tell us about some of the other things that are potentially on the horizon for the College of Creative Arts? What are you looking forward to in the coming semester? Well,
actually, it's interesting because the mantra right now throughout the college is be kind, be patient, and adapt. That's really, because you don't know what somebody's carrying because of COVID. So if somebody seems distracted on the Zoom meeting, it might be because they're taking care of a little sibling or their dog is, trying to climb up and get on the screen. So that's 3 things we're doing, but we're actually looking at this as an opportunity to really examine, there's always time for change. Or you think, well, we'll make these changes when we have time. Right now we have time. So there's some real opportunities here. And one of the things we're doing is we're looking at curriculum. And we're looking at how we make the arts, as we all know the arts are relevant. We as artists know that. We're trying to make sure we know that as artists, all our students have to explain to people how we're relevant. And that means you have to reflect today's world. So to be honest, in School of Theater and Dance right now, we're actually adding a class we've never had before in African-American playwrights. It's something that's totally brand new. We're looking at some curriculum to figure out how we can be a little more global. So all the students have these global experiences, as opposed to some students who just choose that. And then we're also adapting by teaching the students who are majors, how do you use these different platforms to be a 21st century artist? There's a formula for YouTube on how many hits you get and what that translates into generating revenue that you need to know if you're gonna be an artist in the mid 21st century, right? So we're making sure they have that information, and also just things like, how do you record yourself well? How do you come across well in a Zoom setting? How do you interview in a Zoom setting? So there's a lot of things that we are putting a little more time into, but we're also making some curricular tweaks. I won't say changes, but I'll say tweaks. So these students are going to come out, instead of coming out ready for 2021, they're coming out ready for 2030, about 6 or 7 years early. So that's some of the things we're doing right now. And other things, to be honest, we have some things up in the air right now because of COVID again. I mean, we're going to do Rent sometime this year. We're going to do a broadcast with West Virginia Public Broadcasting of King Lear sometime this year. Well, you don't know when. It's 2020. So that might happen in 3 months. It might happen in 18 months because 2020 is going to last a long time. So, but those are some things we're doing throughout the college. And we're also sharing a lot of art online. Actually, I should mention this. Next week, we have our first pandemic-proof artist series happening. And we're going to bring in Chad from Radiolab. I cannot say his last name. But he's going to be doing a webinar for our students and for the public next week. So we're actually having people who have made this transition already and exposing our students to those folks.
That's really exciting. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Sure.
So we're going to start to transition into some questions submitted by the viewers. And one of them, actually, we're going to ask you, Keith, to elaborate a little bit on some things that you were just starting to mention. So, could you tell us a little bit more about how we can start to use the arts specifically in the college to help bridge gaps in diversity?
Oh, wow. Yeah, actually, my question is, how long do you have? Because I can really talk about this. And actually, it's interesting. I'm going to mention one thing that there's a couple of different places where I always say words matter. And one, we're a college of creative arts, as opposed to college of fine arts. Fine arts are great, but our goal is to be creative, which means we are now, again, reflecting current society and changing. That's one thing I want to emphasize. Two, and right after the pandemic started, we were about to announce the name change to the College of Creative Arts, the Creative Arts Center. So it is now the Lilly, Valerie, and William Kennedy Creative Arts Center. That's important because this is a family that, because of a tragedy, they lost their daughter in a terrorist event. And they have been funding for years scholarships for students who are bilingual or working to be bilingual because they believe the arts and understanding of a culture will help us get through these rough times we've had historically. So now the idea is, you know what? We're creative arts, and we are named to bring hope and culture out of tragedy. So what we have to do is say, okay, how can we do that? And I think the biggest way we can do that is universities are built on a European model that is wonderful, but we are an American university. And as an American university, we have to reflect America in the 21st century and the potential of America in the 21st century. And artists really do that better than anybody else. And whether by knowing all of our musical traditions, and I mean all, and then realizing they're different. It's not good or bad, it's different. Brahms is wonderful. Mozart is wonderful. Duke Ellington is wonderful. Prince is one of my heroes, okay? I mean, like later tonight, I'm putting on something. I mean, I won't say which one it is because it might be R-rated, I don't know. But they're all wonderful, but we should be checking them all out. And we have to be checking out bluegrass and Appalachian music. So that's one of the ways we address diversity is by saying, we embrace all of this. And then that artist in 2030 is going, you know what? In my in my toolbox, I can pull from all of these traditions. I can pull from hip hop and Brahms. I can pull from Teenie Harris, right? Or August Wilson. And they're all in my wheelhouse. So that's one of the ways we're really addressing it. Because artists, to be honest, I think artists and libraries actually are the answer to some of these problems.
Well, I love that you're talking about that bag and that full breadth of different genres and representing so many different people. I want to move on to another question from our Q&A, and this one is definitely directed toward Dr. Williams. What changes in individual instrument playing have been incorporated to address COVID-19 concerns?
Well, the College of Creative Arts, the CAC has provided, through Dr. Ibrahim, has provided some coverings for the students to participate in indoor concert ensembles. The provisions that we've made outside deal with placing the students in. I've seen a number of people from the community come and watch the group rehearse. And they're probably all wondering why they're standing so far apart and why they have their cases on the field. What we've done was pretty much implement the safest way for the students to be able to participate. And it's pretty much from their car to the practice field, back to the car. What we've done is just make sure that the students are spaced more than the recommended CDC recommendations for social distancing, but we were able to get about 100 of them on the field and also be able to rehearse a little bit of music so that we keep ourselves geared towards 2021 and we don't lose a step in our preparation now. So the safety precautions that we've taken is just making sure that social distancing is at the forefront, even when the students are outside. Masks are 100% necessary and required for the students when they show up to marching band rehearsal. It's something that they will only remove while they're playing, and then they put them back on. Earlier on, we actually toyed around with having slits cut in their masks and ordering special masks that had that. But with those slits, it kind of defeats the purpose, you know, of not spreading those aerosols. So we decided to go with the masks that the students were performing with without any slits on them. They take their masks down, they play, and the second there's instruction going on, the students know to place those masks right back on over their faces so that we can keep everyone as safe as possible.
Well, it sounds like you have identified some best practices already with some very new challenges. So thank you for sharing that. Moving on to the next question. Will the public still be able to enjoy watching the Pride as they're practicing throughout the weeks at the new facilities?
I have not exactly taken a look at the exterior of the new practice field. Right now, we just have mock-ups, but from what I can see, there are going to be opportunities for a small amount of the public to be able to watch the band rehearse, just as they have in the past.
I will be there as long as Simple Gifts is there. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now. That's what I'll be there. Another question for kind of regarding the new Pride practice facility. Are there naming opportunities for the Pride practice facility, and what dollar value would those start at?
Wow. Okay. The first answer is yes. Yes, there are naming opportunities. There are two things I can do quickly. The first naming opportunities start at $50,000. So the various naming opportunities, and we had to find a line. What's that line between having so many that you look like something cheap and tawdry versus enough to make it, when you get your name on it, it's special, right? So some of the things are being named are actually the field, yard lines, the field itself, the storage building, the cover are all naming opportunities. I'm sure many of the people out there are alumni of the Pride, and I know they're very interested in trying to get the money up so that one of the naming opportunities could be in honor of the gentleman who integrated the band, brought females in the band, Don Wilcox. So yes, there are big naming opportunities. There's also the Adopt the Dot campaign, which is a more lower dollar figure that's out there. But 50,000 is the beginning of the naming opportunities. And to be honest, if we were to get we've done the math that if we do every naming opportunity, we will hit the $5 million. So I think everybody out there should just figure out what they want named after themselves, or their loved one, or their dog. If somebody's got a dog out there, I know it's Jennifer Jordan's birthday. Name something after Jennifer; she'd be thrilled. So if we do that, we can hit the number.
Well, we're very excited to see that play out. So, Dr. Williams, we have a question for you. Will the 3 marching band groups for the fall term be roughly the same makeup of the various band sections?
Yeah, So the way that I broke the group up, it just makes it so that it's equitably split amongst all the students. And the way that we went about doing this is because we wanted to make sure that each student had an equal amount of performing opportunities, with questions still up in the air about how the season will end. I'm going to have to do some adjusting and some pivoting to make sure that the students are equitably represented, because not only is it important for me to make sure that the freshmen get an opportunity to perform, and the lower classmen, but it's also really important for me to make sure that the seniors get an opportunity to perform. This is one heck of a senior year to have to deal with. So what I want to do is to give them as many opportunities as I possibly can. But as far as numbers are concerned, they're roughly about a third of the band, each of the groups.
Perfect. This next question is one that I hope one of you knows, and if not, I'd like to let our viewers know that we will absolutely find out the answer for it, and we'll make sure that we get it out on the Alumni Association's social media or the College of Creative Arts social media. But the next question I think is a really cool one. As a two-time graduate of WVU, I would like to know when the Pride started signing the alma mater. As a graduate and professional working with the signing deaf, I am proud of the Pride.
Oh
man.
Well, I'll just tell you right now, I don't know that.
I don't know the answer to that one either. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's the color guard that does the signing, and I'm trying to think if I could remember times when they didn't. I'm also going to cheat by looking down in case anybody's sending me an answer on this one. But I don't know. I can't say I know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I'm embarrassed. Actually, I should know that. So,
hey, and that's okay. I think that was a tough question to pin on a timeline. So we'll find the answer on that, and we'll definitely make sure that we share that. I love that question though. I think it's so great.
So another question that we have tonight: how can our alumni best support the College of Creative Arts students during this time of COVID?
Wow. Okay, that is a great question. So a couple of different things. Actually, one of the things that's going back to an earlier question, and how we're adapting and changing, I think I might surprise you by saying one of the things is mentoring. We've started a new mentoring program called the Creative Consultants. And for artists, the transition from being in school to being in the profession is often awkward, depending on what it's, because to be honest, people now use the term gig economy. Well, for many artists, the gig economy has been since the dawn of time. And how do you get established in the gig economy? So mentoring is a big one. It's a very big one. Obviously, financial support. And during times of COVID, that financial support is in many ways about technological support. So right now we are online again. And fortunately, during our time together now, we've had no glitches. But if you can imagine doing a singing lesson or teaching painting, and you don't have a great internet connection, or you don't have a good webcam or a good USB microphone, it's very difficult. So where often our biggest needs are for traveling, for students to go do internships, do competitions, or ensembles to go on the road. Right now, it really is to be able to get the technological support the students need, so there is as little hiccup as possible in their learning. So mentoring, support for technological needs, obviously by going to see the arts. We need audiences. Now, Grant, that goes back to being relevant and making sure people know that we're a huge part of American culture, right? So some of that's on us, but rather than watching reruns of NCIS, go check out something new. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Or instead of, go to the art museum. The art museum's open right now. Well, not at this moment, but the art museum is open during this time period. So check out the arts and see what we do. Somebody just told me it was 1983 or 1984 that we started signing the alma mater. So it was back in the 80s. So, and answer that question. If I'm wrong, sorry. But yeah, so go to the arts, mentoring, help with student support for technological needs, and of course, employment. I mean, a lot of our graduates are teachers, so support your local educational programs and the arts in those programs. Because if those programs aren't good, the arts will die. And if the programs aren't good, there's no interest in the arts because people don't understand it. So there we have some answers for you. And I'm sure Dr. Williams can have some more if he wants to throw in there. If he's like, no, you got that, dude. It's okay.
No, you killed it.
Oh, okay.
Well, hey guys, we've got time for one more question from our audience, and then we'll start to wrap it up, and we'll bring things back home to this new facility that we're ultimately talking about. And so, can you give our alumni an idea of what the timeline is for construction on this new facility?
Okay. Yes and no. So the timeline actually depends on the fundraising. So you can break ground before all the money's raised. And remember I said it's in 3 phases? So it's $5 million, but the first phase is just over $1 million. So I'm not going to say we need to get past $1 million before we can start the field. The university will let us get going if we're really close. So I think, to be honest, it really depends on how quickly people say, I want the 50-yard line named after me or a loved one. I would love to say we're breaking ground by this time next year. That's aggressive. Jennifer Jordan right now is going, I can't believe he just floated that idea. But again, the state loves this band and the band represents the state. So I think the idea of us breaking ground within 12, wouldn't it be great if we started 2021 with 2020 in the background? We can forget that year that was. And here's the beginning of a new dawn, the beginning of a new legacy. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Well, this is exciting, and we can't wait to watch all of this come to life. If people want to learn more about the College of Creative Arts or these projects, where should they go?
Well, for the bands, they should go to bands.wvu.edu. And for the College of Creative Arts, they should go to ccarts.wvu.edu. And I hope I got this right.
Well, that's perfect, and I'm sure we will have plenty of people who are interested in learning so much more about what's coming from the College of Creative Arts. How many times you can possibly fit Simple Gifts into one pregame show? It's got to be a record this year, and some other updates from the Pride of West Virginia. But Dr. Jackson and Dr. Williams, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We would love to have a conversation very similar to this again here in the very near future. So thank you both for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you guys for making it easy.
So once again, I'd like to thank for taking a little more time to talk about the College of Creative Arts and the Pride of West Virginia. And of course, thanks to all of our viewers. Our next WVU Alumni Webinar will be on Wednesday, September 23rd, featuring WVU Athletics historian John Antonick. John will be giving us an insider's look into WVU sports history over the course of the fall in our Mountaineer Masterminds edition of the WVU Alumni Webinar series. Please note, this is super important, while his first webinar is free and open to the public, the other conversations that we'll be having with John will be exclusively for members of the WVU Alumni Association. And so, as always, you can learn more about membership and the other ways to stay involved with us at the WVU Alumni Association on our website, alumni.wvu.edu. But with that, thank you so much for watching.
The prize is the field direction of drum majors Taylor Morrow from Morgantown, Megan O'Neill from Arthurs Ferry, Samantha Felix from Winfield, and Billy Titus from Weston. Featured drummers are Madison Ice from Amherst, Ohio, Mia Norton from Downingtown, Pennsylvania, Emily Reinhardt from Canton, Ohio, and Jillian Swagger from Niles, Ohio. And now, would you please stand for the singing of the alma mater of West Virginia University, and please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Today, the alma mater will be conducted by Dr. Lindsay Williams, Assistant Director of Band. Today's color guard is composed